Not every conversation needs to be loud. Not every disagreement needs to become hostile. And not every man is interested in spectacle. The society of ordinary gentlemen exists for those who believe that courtesy still matters, that restraint is a strength, and that how one conducts himself, especially when it is inconvenient, is a measure of character. This is not a platform for self-promotion. It is a place for thoughtful discussion, mutual respect, and personal accountability. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is an online community with the mission of cultivating modern gentlemen by teaching skills, habits, and mindsets that elevate personal style, communication, health, and lifestyle through community, courses, and mentorship. Membership is open to adults willing to uphold these standards.
Hello and welcome to the Gentleman of Faith podcast. I am Anthony Buntyn. I'm the host of the Gentleman of Faith podcast. It is indeed an honor to be in the presence with you today, and I'm so excited to continue on the series that we've been talking about, the art of speaking like a gentleman. And I'm so excited about what I see happening with men all over the world that are stepping into their faith and becoming gentlemen, and we're starting to see more men that are becoming more attentive to who they are and becoming a gentleman. So we're going to get into the art of speaking like a gentleman. So let's get started. That speaking like a gentleman is about presence, respect, and clarity. It's not just about polite words, but it's about how you choose them, how you say them, and how you engage with others. And we talked about a couple of things. We talked about the core principles, about, the clarity and composure. We talked about speaking clearly, announcing well, and, avoid rushing and keep it at a measured pace. And one thing that we talked about, and this is very important, is avoid the slang terminology and also the use of profanity. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that as a gentleman you should never curse at all. I try to avoid doing that, but that's just me. But, if I'm not saying that if somebody uses a curse word that they're not a gentleman and, they're a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, you want to limit the amount of profanity that you use. And you also want to be careful of those profanity words that you use that will degrade somebody, put somebody down, talk to somebody in a derogatory way. And they throw that around when it comes to talking about women and stuff. That is very degrading. That is not what a gentleman does. You do not want to use these type of words. And so, you want to avoid these things. We tend to get in this mode where we stop listening and we start building a response or building a defense to what they're saying. And in the process of doing that, let's get real, okay? Very few people multitask when it comes to listening and preparing a response. Listen, very few people can multitask in this. Sometimes you get so into building a defense or building a response to what somebody's being said that your natural response is you stop listening to what that person's saying. And then that's how things get misconstrued. That's how things get taken the wrong way, taken out of context. And then what started to be a conversation becomes an argument. So we talked about that, about avoiding that. And we also talked about, when you want to talk with confidence and not arrogance. And there's a difference in that. Confidence is, when you're talking in confidence, you're saying that, I know what I'm saying. I stand behind what I say. I believe what I'm saying. Arrogance is like, I don't care what you have to say. This is what I'm saying. And as a gentleman, you don't want to do that, okay? And, you have to come to the realization you're not always going to be right. Granted, it's shocking. There's nobody that's always going to be right. So having that arrogance of talking like you're always right is what turns people away. And so we talked about that last time. And so today we want to get into the delivery and the voice of your delivery. So, when we're talking, we have to, as gentlemen, you want to be heard, okay? So your volume level needs to be at a level where you can be heard, but not overheard. And so what I mean by that is, your volume level needs to be to where when you're talking, that person that you're in front of, they hear you clearly, but not to where the person 2 places over hears you, or the person that's having a conversation over here hears you. How many times have you been in a place and, like you're in a conference or you're at a convention and there's a lot of people around and there's always that one person that is louder than everybody else. And it's hard to focus on your conversation because you hear what's being said over here. That you don't want to be that person. You do not want to be that person that is being overheard above the dim of the room. You want to be to where the person that you're talking to can hear you. Now, this is another thing, and this is where a lot of people fail to understand and to grasp. If you're talking to somebody, especially when it comes to a personal matter, okay, you don't want to talk loud enough to where everybody around you is hearing your business and hearing that conversation. Especially if you're talking to somebody about their problem, they don't want you talking loud enough to where everybody can hear what their problem is. They came to you to discuss that problem. They didn't come to you and the person over here and the person over there to discuss that problem. So that's very disrespectful when you are talking so loud that other people can hear that conversation, and now everybody's hearing about this other person's personal things. So as a gentleman, you want to speak to where you're being heard but not being overheard. And when we do that, you'll find out that people are going to respect you. And we discussed this a little bit before, is in your conversations, you don't want to get into using slang terminology. And you don't want to get into repetition words that everybody talks about. And you definitely don't want to get into using a lot of profanity in a conversation. Okay? Especially if you're going to be a man of faith, you do not want to be having a conversation where everything out of your word, every other word is a cuss word. That is not being a man of faith. That's not a gentleman. We get it. You might have an occasional slip of the word. Okay. When I was in the military, I cussed like a sailor. No doubt. I was never raised that way. And if my parents heard the way I talked when I was in the military, I would be probably 6 feet under. So I picked that up from being around other people. I learned how to cuss like a sailor from being around other people. And this goes into the type of people you hang around and what's being said. You have to be careful because it is so easy to fall into that realm of talking like everybody else. I was sharing with somebody one day. I went to go get gas, and I was at this gas station and, waiting in line because there was a string of cars, and over to the side, there was a group of young people over there talking, and I had my window down so I can hear what's going on. Number one, they're talking so loud that I'm like, 15, 20 feet away, and they're talking so loud I can hear the conversations. And one thing that I'm sorry, I just despise, I hate when they do this, is use the term on God. And because they use it in such a derogatory and disrespectful way when it comes to God, it's defamatory towards God, and they throw that around. How can you be a man of faith and use that type of terminology? Disney movie Finding Nemo, you got the seagulls that are going mine, 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 mine. It sounded like that, and all I hear was on God, on God, on God, on God, on God, on God. You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? And it's like that's all you can hear. I mean, you couldn't even hear the gist of the conversation. Not that I was trying to, but number one, they were talking so loud I couldn't help but hear what's going on. But then that's all I was hearing, and I was trying my best to tune it out, because that's just didn't want to hear it. And so if you are using that type of slang, if you are having that type of conversation, you are falling into that category of being like, as a gentleman, you should want to be set apart. You want to be set apart from everybody else. Why would you want to talk like everybody else? If you want to be heard, you want to be respected, then talk for you. Use your own words, not what everybody else is saying. Get away from the slang terms. Get back to, the basic words. For me, when I started this journey of becoming a gentleman and I wanted to improve myself and I wanted to better myself, one thing that I started doing this year is I have been working on how I talk. I have been working on trying to get away from abbreviated words and using correct grammar. Now, I'm not saying that if you use abbreviated words that you're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for me, I want to better myself. I want to get back into using proper grammar. And so in doing so, I'm trying to avoid, instead of saying I'm trying to say it is. Instead of saying don't, I'm trying to say do not. And I'm trying to be more aware of how, because, when I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to be engaged in the conversation. I want them to understand clearly what I'm saying. Not that I feel that I'm better than anybody else, but I want to make sure that they understand what I'm saying and where I'm coming from and with what I'm saying. And so if you're one of these people that use the common phrases and common terminology, I'm telling you, most of the time people are tuning you out because they're so used to hearing that, they're not listening to you no more. You might say something like, hey, you feel me on this? And they're thinking about what Junebug said last week when he said, dude, don't piss me off. Next time, I'm just going to slap the daylights out of him. You feel me? He's thinking about that. He's not thinking about what you're saying. His mind doesn't focus on something else. So if you want to be heard, you want to be respected, you want your thoughts, your opinions, your voice to matter, then you want to use your words and you want to avoid these things. So I have been working this year on not just how I say it, but also how I write things. I'm trying to write instead of, it's easier to put it instead of it is. It's easier to write don't instead of do not. But I want my communication to be clear. And I want people to understand what I'm writing. I want people to understand what I'm saying. And so I feel for me, I need to brush up on this. Plus, I want to be a better version of myself. And in order to do that, I am making these changes. I shared with you guys before on previous podcasts. Even in my work, my staff, I got on them before because around the office, they use a lot of street terms. They use a lot of street terminology. And one thing I noticed is that their reports are written just like they speak. They thought I was kidding until I started pulling reports and reading it back to them. They started seeing for themselves. Now, as a business person, I sent one of my staff out to go do an assessment, and they're coming back and they're writing their assessments that I'm supposed to give to my client. And their statement is like, those guys need to close that door because if they don't, things are going to get ruined. Or if they don't, it's going to be bad. What my client wants to hear is, after further assessment, the employees there are failing to close the door and secure the door. Failure to do so opens that area to be vulnerable for a break-in. That's what they want to hear. Yeah, you might say, well, that's too many words. But you know what? It's clear and concise to what my client is requesting. He wants an assessment. He's getting an assessment. He now has a clear understanding. There is very little room for misinterpretation. But if my staff is using slang terminology, abbreviated words, it's very easy to be misconstrued. Same way with our verbal communication. If we are using common phrases, slang terminology, things like that, it's very easy for it to get misinterpreted and misconstrued. So you want to have that expanded vocabulary. And I'm not saying that you have to use big words. Don't get me wrong. Believe me, I got some friends of mine, they're great people, master's degrees, doctorate degrees, but sometimes they get to where they start talking and they use these real extravagant words, and sometimes you get like that blank stare because they're looking at you like, what, and I'm like, can you bring it down so us common folks can understand what you're talking about? They laugh about it and then they break down. But what I'm saying is, you want to remember the audience that you're speaking to. You can't reach an MP generation using 8-track technology. You can't reach somebody on a level that is way above what they can understand and expect them to follow you. So it's important for you to speak on a level that the person that you're conversing with can understand. So, you want to expand your vocabulary. You want to use precision, but you don't want to sound pretentious about it. You want to be precise, but you don't want to talk to where people can't understand you. You want people to understand you and know exactly where you're coming from. And I've said this before. Your vocabulary is a currency of your intelligence. Your vocabulary is a currency of your intelligence. Excuse me. If you want people to understand you, you want people to understand where you're coming from, then you want to speak in a way that they can understand fully. If you want somebody to take you seriously and you want somebody to understand where you're coming from, trust me, you need to use correct grammar. Because when you start using these extravagant words, these big words, and people can't understand, they start losing focus. They start losing interest. In the military, when I went to NCO training, that's one thing that they have that acronym KISS, KISS, which means keep it simple, stupid. And what they were telling us is that keep your information concise, direct, and to the point. Especially when it comes to combat, you want to do that. Nothing worse than having a lieutenant come in and say, according to the latest stats, the probability of sending troops into a an unauthorized conquered area is going to totally diminish the acquisition for it to be a successful mission. No, what they want, they don't have time for all that. You're in combat. What they're going to say, look, gentlemen, look, we need to go and take this area, and we need to take it by force, and we need to watch out for enemies that are in that area. Straight and to the point, concise. Okay, your soldier's going to understand that. So when you're engaged in a conversation, you want to keep it clear and concise, and you want to use direct words to where people can stay focused on what you're saying. Keep it simple, stupid. When I say, I'm not calling you stupid, I'm saying is you need to tell yourself, keep it simple, stupid. One thing they told me when I was going through combat life-saving instructor training, they said, this is how you do it. You tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. Keep it simple, stupid. You don't have to go into all of that. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And when you tell them what you told them, what you're doing is you're making sure that they understood what you told them. So you're telling them, hey, I'm going to tell you this is the problem. Then you're going to tell them this is what's going on, and this is how we're going to correct it. Then you're going to tell them, so this is the problem, and we're going to do this to correct it. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you told them, and now you tell them what you told them. And so even in my management training, I've always remembered the acronym. So when I tell somebody to do something and they don't do it, now I'm calling them in. I'm like, okay, what did you not understand? Where did we break in the communication? I told you what I was going to tell you. I told you what I told you, and now we have a problem. And it's hard for somebody to say, well, I didn't understand. Well, I told you what I was going to tell you. Then I told you. Then I told you what I told you. So where was the breakdown of communication? So when you're engaged in people in conversation, and I'm not saying that you're coming at people with force. What I'm saying is you want your communication to be clear where people can understand where you're coming from. Also, you want to speak from the heart, and you want to have heart and conviction to inspire and not just inform. So when you talk to somebody about something, you want to speak from the heart. You don't want to just tell them, just be telling me like, hey, this is going on, and I don't know what you're going to do about it, so you need to figure it out, and then walk away. No, you have a little bit of compassion in your conversation. Hey, this is what I noticed. I noticed that you're dealing with this, and I hope that it works out for you. You're putting a little heart into it. You're not just telling them information, but you're giving them a little bit of compassion, a little bit of heart. As gentlemen of faith, we want our communication to be respectful and to be remembered. It's not what you say that people remember, but it's how you made them feel when you told them. Okay. And so if you're talking to somebody and you want to get your point across, let them feel that they have value. Let them feel that they have sense of worth, especially if something that you have to talk to them on a personal note. You don't want to be cold and callous about it. You want to have a little bit of compassion. So, gentlemen, this is part of the art of communication. You want to speak with volume. You want to be heard but not overheard. You want to speak eloquent. You don't want to use a lot of curse words. You don't want to use a lot of slang terminology. You want to keep things precise. And when you talk with them, don't be a monotone where you're just talking like a robot. You are going to listen to what I have to say. Put a little bit of heart into it. Have a little bit of, it's okay for a gentleman to have emotion. Trust me, it's okay to have emotion, because that, as humans, that's what we feed off. We feed off emotion. Okay, so it's okay when you talk to somebody to have some emotion. You do not want to just talk like this, like you're talking like a robot. No, you want to have some emotion about what you're talking about. You want to have something about your talk. And this is what I'm learning in this journey of being a gentleman. And part of this that I've come to learn is through the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen and being a member. When I started my journey 4 or 5 years ago, I was getting into how to dress like a gentleman and thing. But, I didn't quite understand. Yeah, I knew how to dress like a gentleman. I was learning how to. I wear suits a lot. I wear suits every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like wearing suits. I like representing myself and my family and everything. But I wanted to learn how to be a gentleman, how to live as a gentleman. Not just look as one or just talk as one, but how to live as one. And so when I found the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen a couple of years ago and I joined, and I was amazed because when I first saw it, I got in there and they asked a couple questions. And the questions, it's a private society. Not saying that you have to pay to get in. It's a free society. They operate off of donations from the members. The members support it. But it's private because they only want serious men that want to be on a journey to being men of distinction. They want real gentlemen, men that are serious about this. So they ask you some questions, about 4 or 5 questions, because they want to make sure that you're not a scammer, that you're not coming in to scam people, that it's not a bot, that it's some generated thing to get in so they can sell things stuff. And they want to make sure that the person getting on is not coming in for personal gain. They're not coming in so they can try to sell people their internet business. Don't get me wrong, there are tons of businessmen in this society. I mean, we have everybody from teachers, doctors, attorneys. We have all kinds of professionals, but they're not in here to promote their business. They're in here because they want to be a part of society of gentlemen. And so that's what these questions are for. Then once you answer this question, believe me, if you are watching this video or you're listening to this podcast through the radio, if you go to www.beagentleman.org or you go to the website at school.com and you put in search Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, it's going to take you there. When you get in there, you will see that there are a lot of great gentlemen in there that are, some are new to this journey, some have been on this journey for a long time. And they are willing to help you and to mentor you and to get you going. Some of you, this might be your first time starting this journey. Some of you are already on this journey, want more information. Some of you have been on a journey for a while, but you want it better. So when I started this journey and I got in here and I started reading, and the thing about it is, the more I read the posts, they have a live Sunday lounge where you can get on and have, it's a live video lounge. It's a virtual video lounge. And they got gentlemen from all over the world, Australia, Italy, Spain, Africa. And we get on there and we start talking about general things about gentlemen. We talk about fashion. We talk about clothing. We talk about sports. We talk about politics. Now, when it comes to politics, we don't get into who's the best president or this. No, I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about laws, how we as gentlemen can better support our communities and better support our legislation and laws and stuff. And you know what? A lot of men don't see eye to eye on it. But the great thing about this society, we can come together and we can agree to disagree on things. We can have some great debates. Nobody takes offense. Nobody gets mad and nobody cusses at people or berates anybody. We have these great conversations and I love it because it gives me a chance to communicate. It gives me a chance to work on my communication skills. Because, gentlemen, I'm telling you something. When I was growing up as a young man, and I shared this before, I had a very bad speech impediment. So the mere fact that here I am today, when I was in the military, I was teaching combat life-saving to 200 and 300, 400 soldiers at a time. I was teaching IV therapy. Then I became a minister. I'm pastoring churches. I'm associate pastor of my dad's church. I'm speaking to hundreds of people. Now here I am hosting 2 podcasts, talking to people on 10 different platforms. I mean, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Deezer. We're on 2 different websites. And here I am communicating and talking. Nobody would have thought when I was a kid I'd be doing all this. One thing that's helped me better myself and further myself is the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Now I'm on the board of directors there. I'm getting engaged in communicating and talking to people around the world. I'm meeting, exciting and men that just have a wealth of knowledge. I love it. I'm telling you, if you want to be a better version of yourself, you want to learn more, a better gentleman, the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is great. We were talking about fragrances and stuff. And one thing I've learned is that when I started getting into dressing nice, I said, okay, I'm dressed nice. Now I need to smell nice. I want to know how to smell nice and what's the best one. And they talk about that in the society. And then when I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I found this place called Carolina Best. It's a wholesale designer fragrance company. They have over 400 fragrances. I'm talking about name brand, Creed Aventus, Creed Viking, Creed Inspire. They have Valentino. They have Tom Ford Blue. You name it, they have it. So as I started becoming a member of the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, I started talking to people and then hearing them talk about different colognes and stuff. I'm like, So I listen to them. Then I get on the internet and look it up. I might even go to the department store and get a sample and spray it and smell it. And then if I like it, I go home and I get on the internet and I type in carolinabest.com and I see if they have it. And guess what? I can get the same cologne for an 8 milliliter bottle for $10. And I'm not talking about a 8 milliliter bottle of alcohol-based cologne. I'm talking about Eau de Parfum, mostly oil, where you put it on and it lasts all day. Even my wife's funny because when I go out of town, I'm away. She says she likes to take my pillow and hold on to it when she sleeps because she can smell my colognes on my pillow. And so that tells you how good it is and how long it lasts. Even my dogs like to grab something that I've touched and it has my cologne on it because when I'm not there, they can smell it. So That shows how great they are. All you got to do is go to www.carolinabest.com and you can ask and see if they have any of. I mean, they got colognes for men, they got perfumes for ladies, they got shower gel, they even got oils that you can put in an oil burning in your house. I got an oil burner in my office, and I buy oils from them. People walk in my office, they're like, "Oh man, your office smells so good." I start learning about colognes and perfumes and things like this through Carolina Best and through the society. That's how I've grown into understanding and getting better at this stuff. And all of it starts here. So, gentlemen, if you want to be the best that you can be, if you want to be a man of faith, you want people to see you for who you are, I'm telling you, join the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Tell your friends, tell your family members. If they want to listen to the audio version, they can go to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer. You'll tell them to under search for Gentlemen's Forum or Gentlemen of Faith on there. Either one, and it'll take you to where all these videos are, and you can listen to the audio. If you want to see the video portion of it, go to YouTube. Go to Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, and you'll find it. You can go to my website, The Modern Gentleman, and you'll see the Gentleman of Faith podcast. You'll see the Gentleman's Forum podcast, which is part of the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Both of them are on there. You can watch the videos. Or you can go to my website, www.gentlemanoffaith.com/riverside.com, and you can see all these videos, both from Gentleman's Forum and from the Gentleman of Faith podcast. You can watch them all there. You can go to www.beagentleman.org. You can go on there. You go at the very top, it says podcast. And you can click on there. You can listen to all these podcasts as well. But if you want to join the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, this is what you do. Two ways you can do this. You can go to www.beagentleman.org, and it'll bring up the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen webpage. Okay? Scroll through it, read about it, learn about it. Find out if you like it or not. If you like it, on the very top it says join here. You click on that, and it's going to take you to the school website, skool.com. And when you get in there, you can join right there. Or you can go directly to the website, www.skool.com. It's going to bring up school. But then you'll have to go to search and type in the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. It'll take you there. Either way, it'll give you to the same place. When you get on there, you click to join, and I ask you those questions that I mentioned earlier. It's not here to police anybody. It's not a cult. It's not a fraternity. It's not a Facebook page. This is an actual Society of Gentlemen. They just want to make sure that the people that are coming in are serious about living the life of a gentleman. When you get in there, you answer those questions. Let them know that you heard about us through the Gentleman of Faith podcast or through the Gentleman Forum podcast. They'll get you in. And then once you're in, gentlemen, I promise you, you'll be so excited. You'll enjoy it. When you get on the live forum, they have a live virtual lounge where you see all these gentlemen and you get a chance to talk to them and stuff. The great thing about the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is that all the money that goes in goes directly back into the society. The board of directors, nobody is getting paid at all. They're all strictly volunteers. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. One thing I like about the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, they are a nonprofit organization, which means that because all the money that's coming in, they're able to help people that are in need, natural disasters and stuff. They're able to take money and send out to help people. They're working on local meetings, regional meetings, national meetings, international meetings. I'm telling you, it is great. You're going to enjoy it. You'll love it. And it starts right here at the Gentleman of Faith podcast. Gentlemen, go check it out. www.beagentleman.org or go to school, skool.com. Either one. Find the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Join. Let them know that you found us on the Gentleman of Faith podcast, and they'll get you in. I look forward to you coming back to another episode of the Gentleman of Faith podcast. Gentlemen, I enjoy being with you guys. I enjoy fellowshipping with you guys. And so, having said that, gentlemen, if you are interested and you want to appear on the Gentleman of Faith podcast, email me, okay? a.buntyn, that's a.bun at beagentleman.org. Email me, tell me you want to be on the podcast. I'll get back with you. We'll set it up. I'd love to have you on the podcast. I'd love for you to share your journey, your testimony. Let's fellowship. Let's build this society. We can make a difference, and it starts right here on the Gentleman of Faith podcast. Thank you for joining. I look forward to seeing you again. I challenge you to be the best version of a gentleman that you can be, and I look forward to seeing you again. God bless you and have a great day.